All right, here we are with your daily Bible Manna. I'm Michael Pearl. Old fella, 79 years old and feeling fine. I'll be 80 in about 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to those cards and gifts. Chapter 2 of the book of Romans. Therefore, now let me run up to that. He says, verse 32, after having a long list of sins, he said, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. Now, when we talked about the homosexual and stuff like that in it, there are many of us that would condemn that, judge that, or some of these other sins. We would judge that. He said, who knowing the judgment of God, they which commit such things are worthy of death. Therefore, chapter 2, verse 1, for that reason, thou art an inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest. Now, when I read that list of sins, I judged. I judged myself. I judged others. And he said, for that reason, I am now without excuse. In other words, I have documented my moral parameters by judging others. I have said, this is wrong, you shouldn't do it. And in so doing, I have established the base for my judgment. That means that when I stand before God, anytime I have accused someone else of doing something or felt ill towards them for doing it, I have established God's moral and judicial right to fault me in the same way, to find fault with me in the same measure, in the same degree that I faulted others. That's why you judge not lest you be judged, is because our judgment, when we make a judgment, we establish the boundaries of judgment and we'll be judged the same way. Truly, if we didn't judge others because we had no moral compass, that we had no sense of right and wrong, we were like an eggplant instead of a human being, then there'd be no fault. The fault is in our heart and our spirit, which comes out in our judgment of others. Therefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest, for wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself, for thou that judgest doeth the same things. When you say you're a liar, and there's a bit of anger and accusation coming through, you're saying that to yourself, bringing condemnation to yourself. So it's not wrong to make a judgment about moral issues. In fact, you have to. All moral agents do that. We have to decide if something's right or wrong, decide whether or not we're going to do it or not. We have to feel guilt when we do the wrong thing, feel gratified when we do the right thing. That's natural to make judgments. But what is sinful is when we start using that, we create a pedestal, a soapbox for ourselves, and we decide it's our job to be master of the universe and bring condemnation on people who are not doing what they ought to do. There's no place for that in a Christian heart, to rise up in vindictiveness and judgment and condemnation of other people. Now, in a discussion on certain issues, I will say abortion is sin. But when I'm around a woman who's committed abortion, I'm not going to display any feelings or have any feelings of condemnation toward her. That's between her and God. I may feel a little pity, but I'm going to try to conceal that. I'm going to try to be as normal as I can around her. And if she shows negative feelings about it, I'm going to sympathize with her and try to have mercy upon her, because it's a deed done. And who am I to judge somebody? That's going to happen in eternity. They're going to be judged when they stand before God. I'm humbled by the fact that God's going to judge them. He's going to judge me. And so I'm not going to rise up in judgment. I say I'm not. I have, and I do. But I'm judged by God when I do that, by the Holy Spirit. And so I try to bring myself under subjection to the will of God, and I know you are too.